you. That's right, it's Monday. It's Canada Day. Happy Canada Day. And it's Countdown Day. That's right. So you have probably noticed that over the last couple of weeks, we did not have the countdown. In fact, we didn't really have any videos. The fan, in case you haven't heard this already, the fan in my laptop died. Starscream Wife has since replaced it. So the last poll that was done, we had the results of, which was, as you know from the description, the top 10 Hasbro Transformers successes, the things that they have done well. We previously done failures, which was pretty controversial. This is the top 10 things that they've done right. It could include specific releases of certain characters, and I say specific releases of certain characters because you might be talking about the original era, you might be talking about an update. It could also include any and all fiction, just in terms of business, in terms of the Transformers brand. What are 10 things that Hasbro did right, has done right, has been a success according to fan vote? Finally, after a couple of weeks waiting, after long overdue results, we will look at them today in the latest GotBot Counts Down. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble of hosts, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, please like, comment, share. Of course, subscribe, and while you are at it, light 'em up, baby. Hit that notification bell, please. It helps me out a ton, and it lets you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, all the groups that I'm either a mod or an admin for, as well as all of my social media links. All of that's in the description down below. Also in the description down below, and if you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon, see what we have to offer to you through spring. Or, of course, hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. And, of course, this is going to be the top 10 Hasbro successes for the Transformers brand. The things that they've done right. And, naturally, we have our honorable mentions, the very first being G1 Optimus Prime. An honorable mention. I thought for sure that he was going to be there. And I'm sure that he got a lot of the votes he did because of the recent, Missing Link kind of updates, I suppose, as well as the Legacy United G1 toy accurate version that is impending. So I'm sure it's been on the minds of a lot of people. But yeah, G1 Optimus Prime kicked it off. It's quintessential. We all love that transport truck. We all love that robot. We all love that trailer. We all love Roller, so I get it. But only enough votes to be an honorable mention. The other honorable mention is the Studio Series 86 line. I think for the most part, they've knocked that out of the ballpark. However, I will admit that there are a couple of things that have been released in the Studio Series 86 line that were mispositioned in the market and were overcharged, and it felt like it was taking advantage of and scamming consumers. And I'm sure that that's the reason that that line did not get enough votes to actually rank, because a lot of people said it's been an excellent line, but there are things in there that I paid the amount for and don't feel like I got my money's worth. I get it. I've talked about it with a couple of releases myself, but it has been a strong line. So, honorable mentions, G1 Optimus Prime and the entirety of the Studio Series 86 line. They didn't make the list. So who did? What did? You know what we're going to do? We're going to do as we always do, and we're going to kick things off with number 10 first. I missed you guys too. Kicking us off at number 10 is Earthrise Optimus Prime. I'm surprised that this actually ranked. But the people that voted for it said, look, we have an excellent truck here. We have an excellent robot here. The guy does come with a trailer. Whether you like that trailer or not is a different story, but it's an Optimus that actually comes with his trailer. If you have the Centurion pack, then you have the backpack that by rights is side swipes, but you could put it on Optimus. I even painted mine. You could even paint the biceps and the legs as I did, or if you actually want him in kind of full G1 colors, there is now that what is it, dramatic capture, is that what it is? The trio that's coming out that has him in his perfect G1 colors. Although I painted mine, I have to admit that that 3-pack version is about as perfect of a G1 Optimus Prime update as you could possibly want. I also put the VNR head on mine. However, the articulation is there, the look is there, the trailer is there. If you have the pack, you have the backpack. You also then had the axe. You have, the stock version of his ion cannon, or you could have the giant version from the Centurion pack. You could even have Roller from there. So in a way, you could have literally, a Matrix comes with this guy too. In a way, this guy has literally everything that you could want in an Optimus. Some people will say, we have the Studio Series 1 up and coming. I guess we'll have to see how that pans out. But for now, in this time, in this day, right now, based on fan votes, Earthrise Optimus Prime stands as the king of the G1 updated Optimus Primes, enough that he was able to take the number 10 slot for Hasbro successes. Number 9 isn't a specific offering, but an entire concept. The concept of combining. Yeah, I love combiners. Who doesn't love combiners? In fact, they did Combiner Wars where they made up a whole bunch of extra ones with characters that were never combiners before. That's when the Dinobots became combiners, whether you like it or not. We've had the entire Combiner Wars line. Now we've even had a Legacy update to Menasor, and there's going to be another one up and coming for the Aerial Bots. Some people have clamored and said, hey, we have some Japanese combiners that we're still missing. Notably Dino King, for example, a proper Lio Kaiser, even though we do have a Lio Kaiser. I get it. It goes on. Same on the Autobot side. There's a couple there that we're missing as well. Then people say, what about combiners from other eras? Like RID, you know? Like the Build Team. Why not do the Build Team, right? I get it. The whole concept of combining, of taking something that is made up of individual parts and pieces, sometimes individual characters with their own individual minds, and having them come together for something that's bigger, better, badder than themselves. Yes, it's something inspiring about it. It's amazing to see how effective or ineffective that concept gets pulled off sometimes. The whole notion of combining, definitely a success and has endured through the last 40 years to be one of Hasbro's greatest Transformers successes, and it takes the number 9 slot. So number 10 was a specific offering. Number 9 was a concept. Number 8 is a piece of fiction by way of Transformers Prime. This is one of my DVDs of Prime. This is season 1, though I have the whole series. Yeah, I've said it a million times. Prime is by far the best fiction that they've ever done. Beast Wars and Prime, the top 2 in terms of story arc, story editing, naturalness of dialogue, flow of ideas, interesting concepts, huge feel to threats, dynamic characters. Yeah, I would say Beast Wars and Prime. Arguably, I think animated can probably go slotted in there as well. But even now, all this time later, Prime is still considered by many to be something special, something unique, something that is the benchmark to measure other fiction by. I agree, as a matter of fact, with the voters this time around, and that's why Prime takes the number 8 slot. Oh, no, this one's going to be a little bit unexpected because the votes for this one, interestingly, kind of include both fiction and kind of line. You see, going from Siege through to Earthrise, all the way to Kingdom. A lot of voters said that they actually enjoyed the Netflix series and all 3 lines enough that the War for Cybertron trilogy as a whole is an absolute success. I tend to agree. I get that a lot of people did not like the pacing and had issues with the voice acting and whatnot for the actual fiction. But as somebody who felt like they were really kind of craving something more dynamic and interesting, I'm glad that we got it. And I did enjoy it, though I understand the criticism. In terms of the line, a lot of people say, look, the War for Cybertron trilogy as a whole gave us improved engineering, improved articulation, dynamic transformations. It gave us the definitive mainline version of so many characters. Like, well, Spinister. Like, come on. Is there going to be a better Spinister? Probably not. They may do others, but there's not going to be a better Spinister. The Sunstreaker, I get that some people have issues with this coloration. They prefer the Selects release, but again, you look at it, it's pretty quintessentially Sunstreaker, man. Right down to the Rodimus Prime. A lot of people said that this is the Rodimus they've always been waiting for. Although a lot of people didn't like the face. I did. This was the first time I ever liked the character of Rodimus Prime at all. And it's because of this guy. Yes, I like the fiction, like the fans did that voted. Yes, I like the line, like the fans did that voted. And in the end, the War for Cybertron trilogy as a whole takes the number 7 slot. Now, to be fair, at number 7 with the War for Cybertron trilogy, that was people that voted for War for Cybertron trilogy. They voted for the whole thing. However, there were separate votes within that where people said not the whole trilogy, just Kingdom. Not the whole trilogy, just Earthrise. Or not the whole trilogy, just Siege at number 6. A lot of people said, look, the Siege line in particular from the trilogy was the most fabulous. It gave us excellent iterations of so many characters that will never ever be topped. Although a lot of people also argued and said, hey, a lot of those, like Ironhide and Ratchet, for example, the Datsuns became irrelevant as soon as Earthrise came out. So it was different slants on it, and I'm only relaying what the voter said. One huge success within that they mentioned, that a lot of people mentioned, was Shockwave. My response was, yeah, he's a success. He's a perfect Shockwave, really. But he was wildly overpriced for what is essentially a Voyager. And as I have said many times, while I'm glad I got him, he's the last Shockwave I'm ever going to buy. And he is. I get it. I understand the appeal. At the time, people said, yeah, the prices went up for Siege, but man, we didn't have ball joints. We didn't have hollowness. We had better engineering, and people were gone bananas for it. I was happy to see the return of Hinge and Swivel. I don't think it ever should have gone away. I was happy to see the return of more solidity and less hollowness. That never ever should have gone away. It's a lesson here about cost cutting. But looking back now fondly, so many people remember the Siege line as something special that it by itself, outside of the trilogy as a whole, it by itself was able to take the number 6 slot. And now a hush falls over the crowd as we have reached the ever coveted, ever popular halfway mark. And at the halfway mark, we have a very interesting one. We have had releases, we have had fiction, we have had concept, we have had totality of a trilogy, we have had a piece of a trilogy. And right now we have something from the business side. Brand longevity. The fact that we are sitting here having a 40th anniversary of Transformers speaks to how much it is a part of the pop culture mainstream lexicon of life around the entirety of the world. The fact that they have continuously been able to keep it afloat and reinvent it. Not always successfully, but there's always something new, something to look forward to, something to pick apart. I would argue that over the course of the last 10 years or so, unfortunately, a lot of fans have become the franchise's, ironically, worst enemy by kind of panning everything because it doesn't particularly harken back to their own nostalgia. I've been guilty of it as well. And while I'm not a fan of certain things like IDW or the Unicron trilogy, I absolutely respect that they have been a part of the franchise and helped keep it afloat at times and bring in new fans. In fact, I've even been calling for things like RID 2001 and the Unicron trilogy to be getting more mainline release updates because I think it's your turn. I honestly do. It'll be interesting to see how much longer the franchise lasts. Will we be here for a 45th anniversary, for a 50th, and beyond? Time will tell. But for now, let's be happy that we've had 40 years of glory. On to 41. Brand longevity takes the number 5 slot. I love this next one at number 4. This is going to be one of the quickest, simplest ones I've ever done. Boom! Siege Jetfire. Because Siege Jetfire. That's all. He takes number 4. And here we are now in the top 3. The top 3. And this is where things get very interesting. And I think number 3 for some people will be very controversial. Let me explain, because number 3 is the live action universe. So the live action movies took the number 3 spot for biggest success. And you know what? I get that a lot of people say, the robots look too alien. I didn't like the way Dark of the Moon and Revenge of the Fallen was written and stuff. Although, I don't know why people pan Revenge of the Fallen. It's like people forget that there was a writer's strike and that movie was finished while being unfinished. So it's going to be sloppy. As was everything from that same summer, that same era. Because everything got rushed, right? Anyway, I digress. People said the live action universe, if for nothing else, It brought Transformers very much into the mainstream. It added a generation of fans, because there are people out there who their version of the Transformers, their version of G1 is the live action movies. And I think as they get older, we're going to see a lot more of that nostalgia grow. Maybe not there yet, but it's coming. And sooner than I think people think. Certainly within the next decade, I believe. Look at the billions upon billions of dollars that it has generated. Granted, the last couple of forays into the live action universe have not been as successful as the first trilogy. The top, I guess the first three are definitely the most successful top ones. But you know what? Even if you didn't like Age of Extinction, it was still wildly successful. Last Night a little less so. Bumblebee was successful, but it was also a smaller budget. Rise of the Beast got panned, and I don't know why it got panned by fans, because it was phenomenal. Anyway, you cut it, whether you like the live action universe or not, whether you like the characters or the designs or not, none of us can deny that over the course of the last decade or so, it has very much made Transformers something in the absolute mainstream culture once again. You can't argue with the pop culture significance. You can't argue with the effect that it's had on revitalizing the brand. And for that reason, the live action universe, as voted on by fans, takes the number 3 slot for Hasbro successes. We only have 2 left. And at number 2, by the way, number 2 and number 1 were separated by 3 votes. That's how close they were. 3 votes separated them. Number 2 is G1. Both line and fiction, obviously highly nostalgia driven. No doubt in my mind, highly nostalgia driven. This is my G1 Trailbreaker, courtesy of Maximal 10. I got my Jazz around here somewhere too. I don't have a lot of G1 like product left anymore, because I think I've grown and evolved kind of beyond that for the most part. But man, the couple of special ones I got, Jazz and this guy, are really, really, really special. Something really, really special, I have to say. And I love them both, honestly. The fiction is the fiction. I still watch it to this day, you know, as we all do. If you're a Transformers fan, you absolutely know it. They just done the 40th anniversary table read. That was just uploaded. And you know what? What a great attempt at doing that, considering we didn't have access to all of the great voice actors of the time. Trying to kind of fill that in as they did, I think they've done a splendid job. Love the fiction, love the line, have the nostalgia, just like you do. And based on fan votes, G1, which I honestly thought was going to take the number 1 slot, didn't. It takes the number 2 slot. And now here we are at the very tippy top, number 1. And number 1, like I said, only won with 3 votes. It was super duper close. But honestly, even though I'm a G1 guy and I have that great nostalgia, I can't argue with number 1, because number 1 is Beast Wars. And some people are going to be shocked by this, as I was. However, let me give you the reasoning that people voted for this. Remember, we're talking about not your favorite thing, not my favorite thing. We're talking about Hasbro successes. And some people would immediately say Beast Wars was Kenner. Well, yeah, it was developed by the Kenner team, which had been absorbed at the time by Hasbro. It was still branded under Kenner, but it was Hasbro's decision to have that team revitalize Transformers. So some people said just the decision to put fresh eyes and a fresh team on it was a success, and that's why they voted for Beast Wars. Some people said it changed up the game in terms of the quality of the product that came out, because all of a sudden you had effective automorph for the smallest classes, you had more intricate transformations for the larger, and you had the introduction and mass use of ball joints, which changed the game for articulation. Remember, we were coming off the heels of G2, which was really just a G1 rehash. So articulation wasn't a big thing until Beast Wars came in, and then it became the standard bearer. And then some people, they didn't talk about Hasbro's choice, they didn't talk about the line and how it absolutely changed the game. They talked about the fiction and said it was so enthralling. Even though the animation has not aged well, although I argue it's aged better than some things that came after it. But even though the animation for a lot of people has not aged well, they say the writing and the story and the character development has stood the test of time. Yeah, I think it's amongst the best fiction. I think it's the original is amongst the best line. I think the updates have been great, but honestly, in a lot of cases, even with the updates, if you opted to just keep the originals, they're still splendid. Like this guy, or say 10th anniversary tarantulas, they're splendid. You know, I don't know, the updated Cheetor or the original Cheetor is amazing. The updated Air Razor, the original Air Razor, both are amazing, right? So like, it kind of depends on your slant. The line, the fiction, the look, the idea, the articulation, just the sheer fact that Hasbro had the wherewithal to say, we need fresh eyes and fresh ideas and a fresh team. Yes, Beast Wars, in all of its glory, in all of its ways, took the #1 slot for biggest Hasbro Transformers success. And there you go, man. 10 down to 1 once again. Are you as surprised as I am? Because I was shocked. Other things that had votes, Siege Omega Supreme, the 86 Dinobots, Generation Sandstorm, the current design team and what they've been doing. Letting Takara lead the current designs for the most part. What else do we have here? Titans Return Trigger Happy. GoBots and reintroducing them. G1 Fort Max. Let's see. The original 13 and the Legacy of the Primes. Titans Return IDW. Box art and the evolution of that over time. Animal Formers. Ankle Tilt. I kind of really agree with that one. The 86 movie. The recent surge in G1 accuracy. Commander Class. The introduction of Commander Class. Peter Cullen's casting as Optimus Prime. As quintessential as it gets. Frank Welker's casting as Megatron. Again, as quintessential as it gets. Transformers beating GoBots back in the day. HasLab. Oh, I don't know if I agree with that one. Transformers Victory. Studio Series as a line. Not 86, just Studio Series. Transformers Cybertron, that specific part of the Unicron trilogy. Animated, 86 Ultra Magnus, Earthrise Scorponok, T30, Thrilling 30, just as a line. Better articulation, Predaking. The return of Optimus Prime after they killed him off. Chug, the Chug line, and the MP line. Those and so much more. Man, a lot of successes across 40 years. I hate seeing poor business decisions that, you know what, seems to be teetering things for that company in a lot of ways over the last few years. Let's hope they can turn things around before it's too late. I love the franchise and so do you. But for now, my friends, that's it. We've gone from 10 down to 1. I appreciate you guys coming by, giving me some of your extremely valuable time. I do know how important it is to you. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon. See what we have to offer to you through spring. Or, of course, hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. While you're at it, hit the subscribe button. Stick around. Have some fun with us here on the channel, please, and thank you. And don't forget, not for a moment, not for a second, that you right there, you do make a difference in the world. And I look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams on Thursday nights at the stop motion premieres or the old-fashioned way right here inside the videos.